Summerville, we need to talk. Not we need to talk that ends a relationship. That we need to talk that starts with me holding a spreadsheet like it's a treasure map, because I just went through every single home that closed in this town over the last 6 months. And honestly, some of these numbers made me put down my coffee. So here's the headline. 2,601 homes sold in Summerville between January and June. That's over $1.1 billion changing hands in one town in half a year. So for context, that is enough money to buy roughly one aircraft carrier or about 4 billion Chick-fil-A sandwiches. And if you know Summerville, you know which one people would actually choose. My dog needs attention. So today we are covering all of it. HOA versus non-HOA neighborhoods, new construction versus resale. Which neighborhoods are flying off the shelf and which ones are collecting dust. Oh, lucky. How are you? So why new construction speed swings so widely from one community to the next? Seller concessions and whether they even work, and where is this whole roller coaster heading next? So buckle up. Quick stop and shameless self-promotion before we dive in. If you're buying or selling in Summerville this year, hit subscribe now, because future you is going to want this data and won't want to dig through my back catalog to find it. And drop your neighborhood in the comments and I will absolutely stalk the numbers for it in a future video. So, okay, let's go. Let's start with a plot twist nobody saw coming. This market didn't slow down as the year went on. It got hungrier. In January, we started 309 homes sold, which is respectable, sure. But by June, we hit 507. That's a 64% jump in monthly closings between the dead of winter and the start of summer. And prices didn't crater to keep up with all that volume. They crept up right alongside it. Median price opened the year around $393,000 in January and closed June at $410,000. Across the whole 6 months, the median sat right at $399,900. A suspiciously polite penny under $400,000. And homes are selling at a median of 100% of list price, meaning half of all sellers walked away with full asking or more. All right. The question I get asked more than paper or plastic at this point: does an HOA help you or haunt you when you sell? Well, the data says it helps your price, but it doesn't help your speed. HOA neighborhoods sold for a median of $400,000 compared to 366 in non-HOA areas, mostly because HOA neighborhoods tend to be the newer amenity-loaded. We have a pool and a pickleball court, master planned communities. The HOA isn't magic. It's just usually attached to nicer stuff. But HOA homes took noticeably longer to sell, an average of 54 days on market versus 41 days for non-HOA homes. And HOA neighborhoods needed seller concessions more often too. 70% of those sales included one versus 65 for non-HOA. So the scrappy non-HOA neighborhoods are quietly out-hustling the fancy ones on speed, even if they lose on price. And if you are eyeing an HOA home, budget for it. Typical fee right now works out to be $81 a month in HOA fees. Next up, the ultimate house hunting sibling rivalry. Shiny new construction versus it has character pre-owned homes. It's basically a coin flip. Of the 2,601 sales, 1,252 were new construction and 1,349 were pre-owned. Almost exactly half of this market smells like fresh drywall. New builds sold for a median of $410,650, about $25,650, more than the pre-owned median of $385,000. And here's a genuinely surprising result. Days on market are basically tied. 51 days for new construction, 52 for resale. Practically a coin flip on speed too. Now that 51 days new construction average is hiding an enormous story. Some new construction communities are selling in 3 weeks and others are taking 5 months. Let's look at exactly which ones and then I will show you why. I built a fastest to slowest ranking for every major neighborhood in town, split into new construction and pre-owned, using average days on market. So let's start with new construction. Dawson Point is the fastest new construction neighborhood in Summerville, an average of just 22 days on market. Lima's Farm is right behind it at 25 days. Then comes Crossroads, and my dog is freaking out with his toy. Comes Crossroads at 32 days, Watson Hill at 35, and Summers Corner at 41 days. All 5 of those are moving quite briskly. Then it slows down. Six Oaks averages 50 days. Cane Bay Plantation averages 53. Nexton jumps up to 67. And all the way at the bottom, Sheep Island averages a whopping 156 days. On the pre-owned side, the fastest is Bridges of Summerville at 34 days, followed closely by White Gables, Legend Oaks Plantation, and Counts Crossroads, all in the high 30s. Sangaree and Westcott Plantation sit in the low to mid 40 days. And the slowest pre-owned markets are Nexton at 49 days, the Ponds at 52 days, Summers Corner at 53 days, and Cane Bay Plantation again at the bottom with 63 days. So Cane Bay and Nexton show up slow on both sides, new construction and resale. That's unusual, and it's worth understanding why. Which brings us to the actual headline of this video. Here's the thing nobody's telling you. The neighborhood barely matters. What actually predicts how fast a new construction home sells is which builder built it. I pulled every builder with at least 15 sales this year and ranked them by average days on market. And the pattern is not subtle. Starlight Homes is the fastest builder in Summerville, averaging just 17 days. Pulte and Centex average 31 days. Lennar, by far the highest volume builder in this data set with 578 sales, averaged 33 days. Stanley Martin Homes comes in at 38 days. All of these high volume production style builders, they build a consistent, repeatable product at a predictable price point, and they come fast. Then there's a real cliff. Mango Homes averages 44 days, still solidly quick, but Ashton Woods jumps to 60 days. DRB Group and D.R. Horton both land around 73 days. Meritage Homes takes 98 days, and Dreamfinder, formerly Crescent Homes, takes 106 days. And David Weekley Homes averages a painful 141 days. So why do Cane Bay and Nexton both look so slow? Because they're not one builder, they're a blend. Cane Bay has D.R. Horton and Lennar building fast, affordable vinyl-sided product, right alongside Meritage, the Dreamfinders from Crescent Homes, and Stanley Martin building bigger, pricier cement plank homes for a much smaller buyer pool. Average those together and you get a mediocre looking 53 days that doesn't really describe any single home in that community. Nexton is the most extreme example in town. It has 10 different builders. 10. One of them, Pulte Homes, is averaging under 12 days, arguably the single fastest selling new construction product in all of Summerville. But Nexton also has Saucy Burbank at 173 days, Homes by Dickerson at 154 days, and David Weekley at 146 days. Blend a builder that sells in under 2 weeks with builders that take 5 to 6 months, and you get Nexton 67 days average, a number that describes nobody. An important caveat on Sheep Island's eye-popping 156-day average, because it deserves context. That community is built almost entirely by D.R. Horton. And D.R. Horton, like most high-volume inventory builders, tends to add listings to the MLS very early in the construction process, sometimes before a home is even framed. That inflates the apparent days on market clock for reasons that have nothing to do with buyer demand. But even accounting for that, Sheep Island isn't uniformly slow. It's split almost down the middle. About half of this year's sales closed in under 100 days. The other half set for 200 to 376 days. That's not one slow market. It's two very different outcomes averaging out ugly. If you're working with a buyer or seller in Sheep Island specifically, just don't quote the average. Ask which half of that split you're dealing with. And one more myth buster while we're here. It is not simply vinyl siding sells faster than cement plank. In Cane Bay, cement plank is basically a fingerprint for Meritage and Dreamfinder, Crescent Homes, genuinely slower builders, which is why cement plank homes there look sluggish. But Stanley Martin also builds cement plank in Cane Bay, and their homes average just 38 days. The siding was never the story, the builder was. So, crystal ball time. Where do I think we're headed for the rest of 2026? Townwide, we're sitting around 3.3 months of supply, or inventory called. Anywhere under 4 to 6 months is still considered seller-leaning territory. So we are not crashing, and we're definitely not in some feral bidding war frenzy either. We're in a healthy, steady, warming market that's actually gaining steam, not losing it. But, and this is the part sellers need to hear, 54% of homes currently active on the market have already had at least one price cut. So a lot of sellers are still testing the ceiling with their opening price, realizing the ceiling said no. And then they have to adjust. My take? Expect continued steady price growth through the back half of the year. But if you list too aggressively out of the gate, or if you're a builder blending a slow premium product into fast-moving community, you will sit and you will eventually adjust. Let's talk about the phrase that confuses literally everyone: seller concessions. All it means is the seller agrees to cover some of the buyer's costs, closing costs, rate buy down or prepaids, instead of or alongside just dropping the price. And they are everywhere. 69% of every closed sale in Summerville this year included one. So does offering a concession actually slow down a home sale like a lot of agents assume? I went back and dug into this one hard, because the first pass at this number did not add up. And here's the real answer. It's not the concession that's slow. It's the price cut. Watch this. Among the pre-owned homes that never needed a reduction, the ones with a concession sold in an average of 20 days. So it's statistically identical to the 19 days for homes with no concession at all. Offering a concession up front costs you nothing in speed. But once a home does need a price cut, average time on market jumps to over 90 days. And it stays right around 90, whether or not a concession is also part of the deal. The concession was never the drag. It's just that concessions and price cuts tend to show up on the same struggling listings. And here's the confirmation. I sorted every pre-owned sale by speed and checked how often each speed tier used a concession. The fastest selling 25% of homes had a concession rate of just 58%. The lowest of any group. The slowest 25% had a concession rate of 67%. The highest. Concessions climb steadily as homes get harder to sell. So concession isn't what makes a home slow. It's just more common among the homes that we're already going to be tougher to sell. One number that's still worth knowing is homes with concessions sold at an average of 99.5% of the list price compared to 98.5% without. So the real value of a concession isn't speed, it's price protection. Sellers use them to hold their number instead of caving, and it works. Concession usage also fades at the top of the market from 75% in the $300,000 to $400,000 range down to 50% over $600,000 because up there buyers care less about a few $1,000s in closing costs and more about the overall deal. Bottom line for sellers, don't be afraid to offer a concession on day one. It won't cost you a single extra day on market. What actually costs you time is being overpriced enough that you need a correction later. And I've actually got a live example of this exact pattern playing out in Cane Bay right now. My listing at 108 Rune Lane was listed at $449,500. No price cut ever. It went under contract in a single day with multiple offers, and closing is scheduled for August 4th. There is a winning formula, so if you are in the market to sell, connect with me and I will present it to you. Real quick, some bonus stats. How is everyone actually paying for these houses? So conventional loans led at 45%, FHA at 20%, VA loans at 19%, and 30% just paid straight cash. Is everything really selling over asking like TikTok says? Nope. Only 9% sold above list price, 39% sold right at asking, and 42% the actual majority sold below asking. So here's your 6 months recap. Sales are climbing, prices are up but behaving themselves. HOA and new construction homes cost more but lean on concessions to get there. And if you want to know which neighborhood sells fastest, don't just look at the community, look at who's building there. A Lennar or Starlight home will typically move in 3 to 5 weeks. A Meritage, Dreamfinders, or David Wheatley home is different, much slower, no matter which zip code it's in. This is because these are semi-custom builders and people pick their finishes and are going through the building process. So if any of this is relevant to your life right now, please subscribe so you catch the next market update. Drop a comment telling me which neighborhood or which builder you want me to break down next. And if you want to know exactly what your specific home is worth in today's market, the link is in the description. I will run you real numbers, no spreadsheet required on your end. And genuinely, if you are thinking about buying or selling anywhere in Summerville, whether it's in one of the neighborhoods we covered today or somewhere I didn't even mention, I would be more than happy to help you through it. That's what I do, and I'd love to be the one running your numbers and walking you through it personally. Reach out anytime. My info is in the description, or text me at 843-714-3806. All right, that's 6 months of Summerville real estate in one video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this market update, and please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.